Jordan, segment's time. Looking forward to it. Arrow pointing up, and I will let you start.
All right, got three of them. We're going to start with arrow pointing up, former and new Cleveland Brown coaches. So we'll start with the former, and we're going to shout out Kevin Stefanski. He's in Atlanta now. I really like the staff he's put together. But, Ben, really what I want to bring up here, I don't know if you're aware of this. Kevin Stefanski coached two quarterbacks in 2025 that are Pro Bowlers. And I don't think people are talking enough about this. Shadur Sanders, Joe Flacco, both Pro Bowlers this year. The man knows how to work with quarterbacks. And that's all I'm going to say about that, Ben.
No, I mean, that's a good point. I guess the flip side of that is he got fired with two Pro Bowl quarterbacks. So you can read it however you want, Jordan. I'll read it the first way.
Yeah, I feel great. That's all that matters. And also, I feel great on February 3rd. Check in with me probably about October 3rd. All right, next up, it's one of my favorite times of year, the Atlanta Braves. We're getting ready for another baseball season. They've put out their giveaways for 2026. Some really cool swag. I don't know, Ben, if you've looked at this at all. There's a Drake Baldwin hockey jersey. I think that's the top of the list for me. Some really cool bobbleheads, including my favorite player of all time, Javi Lopez. You got a cowboy hat with the Atlanta A on it. Spencer Strider's got another little LP of music he's picked out. I don't know how clearly. I think there's like a Georgia Atlanta Braves jersey in the top right corner if you're watching this. I don't know if any of these stand out to you, Ben, but as a former Atlanta Braves season ticket holder, I always loved the giveaways, and so this is the kind of thing that gets me excited. I did want to shout out too among these giveaways an Andres Galarraga bobblehead. I may have to show up. I don't know if you've got a relationship with the big cat, but Andres Galarraga, man, that was not on my radar as far as Braves giveaways.
I'm going to have to take a deeper look at all this. This is my first time seeing this, so I'm going to have to take a deeper look at this. I do love the look of that hockey jersey. The Braves hockey jersey looks pretty cool. The cowboy hat, maybe I let the hair down a little bit. Is that a Dale Murphy jersey?
It looks like it.
It looks like
It's
a
definitely
nice jersey.
yeah.
I mean, that's an appealing one. So I'm gonna have to take a look at all these. But yeah, I should have known you'd be on top of giveaway announcement day.
I'm gonna get my money's worth. The last one I just wanted to shout out. Philip Marshall passed away on Friday. Auburn undercover 76, just a legend covering Auburn sports, covering the SEC. He was a guy I just always loved being around him, and I wasn't around him a ton, but just a legend, and wanted to shout him out and wanted to ask if you had any Philip memories, because I've got one story I'll share on here, but just wanted to set you up if you had anything on Philip Marshall.
Yeah, I mean, we both had the luxury of spending some time around him, just covering Auburn. It's not like one specific memory necessarily that comes to mind, but you end up spending, for those of us that cover Auburn, they have a slightly different, they let us hang out at the front of the complex and do some things like interviews and things like that with recruits and stuff like that. So you end up just hanging out and spending some time with all of the various writers around the Auburn world. And when Philip's there is just it's a different, you're in a different room when Philip Marshall is in the room. That's just the way to put it. I mean, people would walk in that would be Auburn fans that would be wanting to check out the facility or hope that they were going to bump into Gus Malzahn or something like that. And then they'd see Philip Marshall and it was like they had just seen, the most important man in Auburn. And like, he just had that influence on people. Like, he was truly a staple in the Auburn community. And like, I don't even know if you can, I mean, there's people that I would say are staples in the Georgia community, but I don't know that there's anyone to the magnification of him as there was in Auburn. Like, he was the guy that every single person that followed Auburn sports knew and read about. And, he just, again, you felt like you were in the room with like the encyclopedia of Auburn whenever he was in it, because you were learning about something from 1988 that you had no idea had even happened, but then it's using it to help create context for something that's now happening in 2025, 2026. And so a big loss, but also someone that I, am grateful that we got to be around and got to experience time with during our time at Auburn.
I want to shout out Auburn Undercover did a podcast honoring Philip, and they told some stories on there. And obviously, they know him so much better than we did. We just kind of interacted with him when we were both respectively on the beat. But my favorite story, as I remember it, because this all just kind of runs together, I think it's 2021 SEC Media Days. It's in Hoover, if I'm remembering correctly, and we're coming off a 2020 Auburn season that was pretty much remote because of COVID. We did a lot of interviews just on Zoom. I think around that time, Philip had moved back to North Alabama to kind of be closer to family. So you would see Philip, but a lot of it was kind of like we are right now. We were like on screens. And I was with Justin Lee, who I worked with the Opelika Auburn News, and he's now with the Auburn Torch, a newsletter he does. And we were in the parking deck where Media Days was going to happen. And Philip starts walking up. And Justin is so excited to see Philip because, again, we really haven't been around Philip very much, because of Zoom and, trying everybody, not really being together during all that. And Justin goes, "Philip, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. How are you?" And Philip does the thing that I can only describe it as like what an old man would do if he saw two people who he should know their names, but he does not know their names. He looks at both of us and goes, "There they are." But the best part of that, Justin's trying to like kind of catch up with, "How are you doing?" Philip never breaks stride, acknowledges that we're there, and just keeps walking, goes wherever he's going to go. Absolute legend. There's nothing else I could say about him. I would say again, go listen to the Auburn Undercover episode about that. The SEC basketball tournament shoe story that Nathan tells on there. It's one of the funniest stories I've ever heard.
Yeah, great guy, Auburn legend. When you've got, coaches and past players, like one that got me, and I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was a former Auburn legend that was like the first person that I had ever done an interview with or anything like that about Auburn way back in the day was Philip Marshall. And it's just like people, he's just one of those people you never forget once you met him. All right. I've only got one, Jordan, and it is NIL money at the University of Georgia. The arrow is pointing up. And I know that this is been a very big conversation at the Junkyard because people live in this world where Georgia just can't hang. Georgia just isn't going to be able to have the money to be able to do what it needs to do to hang with all these other various places. One, I'm going to just call into question that a little bit. Georgia still recruits with the best of them, but there is no question that Georgia has, since we talked about when Georgia shut down the Classic City Collective last summer, about what does the future of that fundraising look like? Was Georgia maybe buying in a little bit too much to this is going to be rev share and the CSC is going to operate things? And chances are they probably were trusting that a little bit too much. So I think that Georgia has looked at the landscape over the last 6-7 months and said, Georgia can still hang. Georgia is still able to get big time recruits and sign top recruiting classes, but can Texas Tech do some things that Georgia can't do? Can Texas do some things that Georgia can't do? Can Miami do some things that Georgia can't do? Can Ohio State, USC do some things that Georgia can't do on the NIL front? And the answer to that has been yes, maybe not to the extreme that some people try and act and say, oh, it's just, you can't, oh, Miami's in it, you're done. Oh, Ohio State's in it, you're done. That's not how it's been. And Georgia's signees have proven that with guys that Miami and USC and Texas A&M and Texas Tech and Texas and Ohio State, all those schools have wanted plenty of players that Georgia has signed over the last 2 years. All that said, Georgia did see like, hey, there is some opportunity out there financially. And so I'm going to say this, Jordan, I'm going to frame it this way. You're listening to this for the first time, potentially on February 4th. Georgia is launching this initiative on February 4th as we are recording this, I don't know exactly what time Georgia is launching this initiative on February 4th. So on the off chance that you are listening to this and you've gotten into, you're like, almost 2 hours deep into this podcast with us, and you have gotten this far into it and you're hearing this and Georgia hasn't announced this yet, just be cool about it. All right. Don't go blasting it out saying Ben just broke this news and did all this, because this is Georgia's initiative. It's important for them to be able to get it out the way that they want to be able to get it out, because it is a fundraising effort on their end. But I also think it's important to talk about, because I think a lot of fans won't end up seeing that and they're going to want to know about it. So Georgia is launching this new initiative called Glory Glory. Great name, by the way. And I would describe it as a marketing arm. It is a way that Georgia is going to be able to raise money that is third party from the university. It's not a collective in the traditional collective sense, the way that it was, but in many ways it is just a new iteration of a collective. The idea behind this initiative is that fans, any fan, whether that be just the average Joe fan that wants to chip in a little bit from their monthly paycheck, whether that be these big time boosters that are going to be able to write checks, you will be able to send your money to Glory Glory. And then that money is going to be able to be used. And this is where it's different from a collective, where collectives, you would have just written them a check and say, here you go, here's $300,000. Georgia will be able to put on events, not Georgia. Glory Glory will be able to put on events, marketing opportunities. I had it described as like they might put on like a benefit concert, so to speak, or something of those sorts. And then players are able to go there and make appearance fees and do things like that. But this is essentially going to be a way for Georgia to have money that goes above the revenue share cap that Georgia will have in place, that will be approved by the CSC deals. And I think that Georgia has learned through this Deloitte CSC approval process over the last 6 months what's allowed, what's not allowed, what will be approved and what won't be approved. And that's really the way things are going to move forward with this. So as of this exact recording, I don't have a place where I can say, go to this website. If you're listening to this, you have the ability to go, donate right now. But if you're listening to this, go to Google, type in Glory Glory UGA NIL Fund, and you'll be able to figure it out from there. But yeah, this is Georgia's new age way that they are going to try and attract more, fundraising, essentially, for lack of a better term, to be able to. And again, I should state very, very clearly, Glory Glory is separate from the university. There will be people that are working for Glory Glory that were previously part of the athletic department, but they're no longer part of the athletic department. And so, yeah, that's just a new way that Georgia is going to be planning to raise money. So now it's, back in the hands of the power brokers around the Georgia world to sort of help determine what Georgia's budget will look like. But I do think Georgia was a little bit handcuffed over the last 6 months when they didn't have the Classic City Collective in place, and while this was getting manifested. But I also think that Georgia viewed the rules differently than a lot of other places. And to be fair, Georgia viewed the rules as they were intended. And I think that they were a little naive, perhaps, in cutting the Classic City Collective. But I also don't think it cost Georgia anything. Like, the only difference between us talking about Georgia having a top 2 class and what Georgia ended up having, which was like the top 5 class, maybe top 6, was them losing Jared Curtis at the end. And they didn't lose Jared Curtis at the end because they weren't able to find the money for him. So, wanted to call out Glory Glory, sort of tell folks what it was, what you should expect from it. I think that there will be, just from experiences with Classic City Collective types of things in the past, like, I do think that Georgia's goal would be able to have events where you are putting people that are donating money to Glory Glory in the same room as Georgia football players or whoever it might be that will be benefiting from this as well. So there's some mutual relationship building that can go on there too.
I think you did a great job of summing that up, and I think that there were some hard lessons learned, just like you said, in shuttering the Classic City Collective, and then okay, maybe we need to bring some you know version of that back. So I think this is huge for Georgia. I think that it's going to be something that they take full advantage of and look to make the most of. And I think it's going to lead to some pretty cool opportunities for fans who want to donate and some of the stuff they do. I do want to mention, too, I just totally blanked on the second half of my first arrow pointing up. We're talking about the former and current Cleveland Browns coach, Todd Monken.
Oh, yeah.
Former Georgia. I just totally skipped on to that. I was so excited about the Braves giveaways. I love free stuff, Ben. But Todd Monken getting his chance to be a Cleveland Browns head coach, and I'm just going to wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'd rather be like a G5 head coach right now, maybe than the Browns head coach. I think your lifespan might be a little bit longer there. And I say that saying being a G5 head coach right now is a thankless job. But yeah, happy for Todd Monken. I mean, the Kirby Smart coaching tree, I guess, now has an NFL head coach. Kind of crazy. I don't know if he gets credit for Todd Monken on his coaching tree because Todd Monken coached a million places before that, but I'll include him on the Kirby Smart coaching tree. And I will say, Todd Monken came to Georgia to revitalize his career, and Kirby Smart said, "I will help you revitalize your career." And even if it's the Cleveland Browns, an NFL head coaching job, there is no denying that Todd Monken, one of the best decisions that he ever made in his life, was joining Kirby Smart's coaching staff.
Now, that's totally correct, but I do want to point out, do you know where he was coming from when he joined the Georgia staff?
I don't even remember. Where was he?
Cleveland.
The Cleveland Browns. Yeah. Okay. What was he? The OC there at the time, or?
He was the OC, but Freddie Kitchens was the head coach, and Todd was not calling plays. So I do think that that's worth pointing out. But two, I mean, with him taking this job, there are only 32 head coaching jobs. Todd's not a young guy. I think he just realized if this is going to happen, it's got to be in Cleveland.
If I remember correctly, too, and I know this is it's a polarizing topic, and it shouldn't be a polarizing topic, but if I remember correctly, the Ravens were one of the teams that were like considering drafting Shedeur Sanders, and there was a lot of talk about teams maybe being suggested not to be drafting him or whatever before the Browns ended up. So maybe this is a situation where Todd Monken just believes in Shedeur Sanders way more than a lot of other people do.
There was a video put out where I think I'm paraphrasing, but he met Shedeur and was basically like, "Yeah, we tried to draft your ass last year," and it was basically like, "Yeah, maybe this was meant to happen." And
Yeah.
again, I say, good luck.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck.